sit here and listen. We're here with Andy Powers at Taylor, as they just said yesterday, the man, the myth, the legend. I'm, as you all know, worshiping this mountain, so.
Don't do that.
Thanks for being here, man.
Don't do that. I just make sawdust and try and play some notes here and there.
You know, there's a whole list of things I want to talk with you about and get your input on.
Okay.
But we only have so much time.
Fair enough.
You know, we've been making the GA 12 frets and they've been blowing people away. There's a baby boomers come in and our hands start to get a little bit more sore.
Yeah.
And that's an easier thing to play, and we still have the fullness of sound with all that. And now with the V-bracing, my mind just got blown at the possibilities.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting day for us because we've been building, like as a guitar community, we've been building steel string flat top guitars more or less in the same method for the last 150 years, or 100 years since steel strings came on the scene really. And so in this case, to realize that, man, it's almost like you're reading pages through a book, and you get to this last page, you realize, whoa, that wasn't the last page of the book, that was the last page of chapter 1. Wow, chapter 2, okay.
Look how
wow, there's a whole lot more that we get to do. That's kind of what this feels like, because the way these guitars are working is entirely different. I mean, we hear them as guitars, they sound like guitars, they make sounds that we're familiar with, but there's this whole range of expression that we haven't had before.
I can't wait to record with that. I'm doing an album now, first one in 20 years.
Good for you.
And I can't wait to record this thing because it's so flat. It's just exactly what you put your fingers down to. You don't get all the distortion. How does that happen?
Well, like I said, it's a physically different way that the guitar is making sound. It's very similar to, like if you're familiar with the way AM radio works compared to FM radio, so
right.
Amplitude modulation versus frequency modulation. Okay. This is like the FM version of a guitar. It's like this broadband thing, where every note that you play has the same touch sensitivity, the same power, the same sustain. So even if I'm playing notes very delicately, that'll last as long as I want it to last.
And sustain and volume and all these things are usually fighting. And in this guitar, they're harmonious. So just like
yeah, typically there's a bit of a conflict between how long you can make a note last and how loud you can make it. Okay? The difference is really, you can see it really, really clearly if you think of like a solid body electric guitar. Okay, that's a very rigid, very strong thing. It's a strong string holder. That makes a really long-lasting note because the string holder is not absorbing the string's inertia. So if you imagine that on one end of a continuum and you put flexibility at the other end of the continuum, well, that's where volume comes from. And volume is air pressure, and that means to create a difference, a change in air pressure, you need something flexible to move the air. So it's got to be, a guitar needs to be both strong and flexible. Usually, guitar makers have to compromise. You kind of pick a spot in the middle. You know,
compromise.
Yeah, that's what you get.
And this is not a compromise in any. I was playing at the GS, that Blue GS that we got Wednesday, and I grabbed this and went. It felt like the first time I played the 614 First Edition, and I went. I'm not playing anything else anymore. You know? Put that away. I don't need it. And
yeah,
it's just so blown away by this. Where do you see tone would make a difference? And you chose to use with this one to use koa and a little less figure to koa, I think, and the state. Why? What
because for this particular flavor. You know, we're releasing these as a couple of different guitars, right? It's a presentation series with Synchro Redwood and African Ebony, and a 914 with spruce and rosewood. This was what we call the Builder's Edition, which is roasted spruce and koa. It's just a flavor that I've liked lately. I thought it works really cool. What's interesting with this concept is that it's almost like this entirely new operating system, where it gives you the ability to flavor an exact sonority of the guitar to a much higher degree than anything before. So it intensifies the uniqueness between this wood and that wood, between body shape and another body shape. Over the course of the kind of our coming future, you'll see more designs built this way that have different body shapes, different tone wood pairings, because this just opens up a whole range of possibilities that we haven't had before.
One of the things we talked about before is that the different wood combinations and the way that works. And we talked about both being in love with blackwood, yeah.
Yeah.
And this, as you said that about flavoring it, and it just, you know, all this stuff is clicking in as I'm learning more about this guitar and the way that you're building it. I'm staggered with all this possibilities.
It's kind of a mind bender, because you realize, wow, okay, I have a guitar that has way more projection than it's ever had. Like, this guitar is loud to us, but if you walk 20 feet away, it's just as loud. You walk 50 feet away, it's possibly even louder. It's pretty weird. So you have these long-lasting notes with this huge dynamic range, but then you realize, well, the intonation of the guitar is totally different. I recognize that it's a guitar, but all of the notes that I can play are in tune with each other. And it's not done at all with string compensation or sound compensation, fret spacing, anything like that. It all has to do with the way the guitar is vibrating. So that if I'm in an alternate tuning, it doesn't matter. If I tune a quarter tone low, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. You just
every note that I play,
spot on.
Every chord, everywhere, will hit us as perfectly in tune. So it opens up a whole range of possibilities. Like, you start voicing chords like a mandolin player would. You start playing chords where, yeah, maybe you phrase a major 7 like that. You put it this way instead. Because you can.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah, there's all sorts of
before,
stuff.
This didn't happen. You couldn't. You'd hear the discord, the notes.
There's that sour beating kind of sound, that waver. Yeah, these guitars don't do that. These are guitars that play really well with other instruments. They play with the piano. They can play with, you know, artificially generated sounds, so synthesizers and stuff like that. You put it in front of a microphone and record a track. It's amazing where it sits. It's so